Hello everybody and welcome to Nathan on Shuffle and to my latest episode here. I'm doing some year-end content for 2024 and I thought what better thing to do on a Prog theme channel but to talk about the best epics of the year. The songs that are over 15 minutes in length is basically how I decided to frame it. And I'm including like some multi-part stuff that on the album proper, if you go to it on streaming or have it on a CD and have put it into your computer or whatever, it's split up into parts, but really it works together in tandem. It's meant to be one epic piece of music. So that's my criteria, and that's what I'm talking about today. This is going to be kind of a spoiler alert. A lot of these tracks are from albums that are going to feature on my year-end list, obviously. And so here we go with some really great epic tracks from the year. Let me know in the comments, of course, your favorites. I'm going to do a top 10, but let me round it out with 15, actually. So starting at 15, we're going to have the Tangents, the Anachronism from their album To Follow Polaris. I thought this was a really cool epic from the band. Of course, this album in particular is basically all Andy Tillison doing everything, so it's essentially a solo work from him, but he's putting it under the moniker of The Tangent. And I thought this was a really cool piece, talking about kind of some of the darker sides of politics and things, and some of his angrier moments on this album come from this track. But it's sprawling, it's 21 minutes in length, it goes through a lot of different things as it continues forward in different sections, and I really just enjoy the sound here. I think it's one of the better Tangent epics in a while. So at number 14, I have Outer Light from Dilemma from their album The Purpose Paradox. I thought this was a great conclusion to their concept album that I really liked this year. And it showcases their harder edge and their kind of quirky, proggy sensibilities, but all grounded by kind of an AOR, arena rock kind of feel. Great, fantastic scene, great playing by everyone. They have their moments to shine. You know, I like how this band has their cool proggy instrumental moments that they get into, but they never sacrifice the melodies and the main hooks of the song as well to keep you coming back for more. So another fantastic outing from them, and this was kind of the capper at the end of the album that really spoke to me and worked for me. Number 13 is Non Sum Non Curo from Haven of Echoes from their album Memento Vivere. So this is the opening track from their latest album, which I think took them and raised them up another level. Very melancholic in different sections. Of course, there's things that change and you get different feels throughout the track, but I find them to be a lot more subdued and melancholy, but beautiful sounds. Some harsher edges to this album compared to their previous one, but I really enjoyed this beautiful soundscapes, just how they really weave everything together into a fascinating whole. So it's a really great track that showcases the best of what they did on that album. I'm including Spiderweb Train by Kaipa at number 12. A beautiful track, just really fun. Kaipa has a lot of interesting musical elements that kind of evoke that train feel. I loved the new Kaipa album. I think it really spoke to kind of the classic era of the band. Maybe the album's a bit overlong, maybe this track's even a bit overlong, but I think they weave all of these things together beautifully well. I love the instrumentation. It's that classic symphonic prog style, so definitely well worth checking out if you want to get into some great Kaipa music. They did wonderfully. So one of the best like classic symphonic prog albums of the year. At number 11, I have Trench of Nalu from Azure. This is their album Fem, a concept album that was sprawling over a double disc set. And this was kind of the closing epic. There's a final track after this, but this was one of the big, more epic final statements. And it's kind of a love letter to all their progressive metal influences, to Haken, to Devin Townsend, to all of these kind of bigger, more theatrical progressive metal bands that they put in here. There's some harsh vocals, there's some heavier, more headbanging moments, but it's all blended with this perfect, like, modern prog aesthetic that they have throughout the record. But you get a lot of that cool heaviness, and it's just a real monster of a track that I just really enjoyed. At number 10, I have Joan in the Garden from the Decemberists. This was from their album As It Ever Was, So It Will Be Again. And it was cool to see the band return to some of their proggier roots. Of course, they've done some expanded, more bigger prog tracks in the past. They did their whole Hazards of Love concept record, and they kind of shied away from some of their proggier music in times recent. You know, they they've done more of a folky kind of, singer-songwriter type thing. But this was their foray back into prog proper, and I thought it was a really good one. Has some really cool, catchy, fun sections. The only drawback for me is that it has this kind of droning kind of section that goes on for several minutes that can be a bit monotonous for my ears. Not my favorite section of the album, but they bring it back around. They have some really cool, catchy things going on, and it was just a joy to see this band go back to kind of a proggier feel. Number 9, I have The Guardians of Your Destiny from Cyan. This was from a separate EP they did, the Guardians EP, which is kind of a companion piece from their previous album, Pictures from the Other Side. But they did this big, almost 25-minute epic here. It calls back to it's like they're recreating the old Cyan. This is a band from Robert Reed back in like the early 90s that he's resurrecting here with a new lineup and bringing it to life in today's modern age with newer technology and newer production values and expanding these pieces into even more brilliant heights. It's really great. If you love classic neo-prog, this is going to be right up your alley. It has so much going for it. Peter Jones is the vocalist, and his voice is just like butter. He's just a fantastic singer, and they really express all of these kind of classic prog motifs that you'd expect throughout this piece. Just fantastic. Number 8, I have Reconciliation from Almo, from their album of the same name. This is a new artist, somewhat of their debut and foray into this scene. Of course, it evokes a lot of the spirit of classic progressive metal. You get a lot of Haken in this track. It kind of reminds me a lot of Visions by Haken, and it's varied. It has a lot of different things going on in there. Some super brutal, heavy, like screaming type moments, but you also get this kind of gentle, giant-y counterpoint vocal section. You get this almost country western feel in one of the sections of the track. You get these cool progressive Haken-style quirky instrumental moments. You get some Dream Theater nods, some epic just build-ups towards the end to make for an epic conclusion, a sing-along style. And it's just a really beautiful anthemic track that showcases everything that's great about them and what they accomplished on this record. At number 7, I have Artemis from A Voyage of Destination. This is Versa and their fantastic epic, which brings together a lot of different elements from the group. There's kind of almost a choral feel in the vocals, and in the first moments of this, you get this great choir sound and harmony vocals. You get a bit of a folkier feel. You get some really cool proggy keyboards. You get just a exploration into all different facets in an album that had been much more subdued up to this point. This was like the real explosion of prog power that the album needed, and it really lifted it to new heights. And I just love every moment of it, and getting to hear them explore these different areas and really go full on prog after being more into this like kind of post-rock atmospheric space was just a joy to behold. A fantastic epic. Number 6, I have Charcoal Grace from Caligula's Horse from their album of the same name. Fantastic multi-part epic that's just beautiful, melodic, progressive metal. And there's beautiful moments of beautiful tranquility and beauty, but then there's heavier moments of intensity. They're able to blend these things perfectly well from one moment to the next. And it's a little bit lengthy, but every piece kind of fits the puzzle. And it's just a fantastic work of art from the band. I just found this album and this epic to be just very mature sounding and just exactly what it needed to be to tell the story that they're going for on this record. At number 5, I have Out in the Open from Beardfish from Songs for Beating Hearts. I just thought this was fantastic, multi-part epic, a great return to form for Beardfish. It has all that quirky nature that you expect from the band, some cool proggy keyboards and, a groove section, and just really fun to behold as it goes through these different things. Sometimes a bit more atmospheric, especially towards the end, but never losing that quirky sense of fun that they're known for, and just bopping your head along. This provided the biggest smile for me, one of the biggest of the year, to realize one of my favorite bands was back and just full-on prog and not sacrificing any of that fun joviality that they're known for in their greatest music. So at number 4, I have John Anderson and the Band Geeks, Once Upon a Dream from True. This was their big epic, and it feels like an homage to all of classic Yes to me. It feels like you can feel bits of Close to the Edge, of course. You can feel bits of Awaken. and even some stuff from like 80s Yes and 90s Yes, like The Ladder. It's all molded together into this just perfect sound. You get a bit of like Revealing Science of God kind of chanting to it as well, and it's just like a fun exploration for a Yes fan too. And it's cool how they're able to pull this off of like not sounding derivative of all of those other classic Yes tracks, but evoking the spirit of it in a way that's fun for the Yes fan, but doesn't feel like just a carbon copy that they just stitched together. You know, it feels like it stands on its own two legs and is its own epic with its own feel and its own vibe. And John Anderson sounds fantastic on it, and the band geeks are more than up to the challenge to provide this music that sounds like classic Yes. I loved it. I thought this was a fantastic, maybe one of the best Yes related things that has come out in a long time. So really fantastic, and definitely want to highlight that. At number 3, I have Life in the Wires from Frost. They kind of split this into 2 parts on their album, Life in the Wires. But if you just focus on part 2 on its own, it's its own epic. And I love it. It evokes the spirit of Milliontown, their classic debut record. And they just go a full-on prog. You know, they do everything and throw the kitchen sink in as well. And it's fantastic. You know, they do all of the cool keyboard runs, some great guitar soloing, and there's sections where it lays back into a groove, and it's very hooky and catchy. Has that modern production sheen, their kind of icy style that they're known for, that brings that frostiness to the table. I just thought this was a fantastic work of art that was the culmination of this big, sprawling concept record, and evoked some of the best of the band throughout the years on all of their previous records. So fantastic. Number 2, I have Beneath the Mass from Big Big Train, from The Likes of Us. Beautiful epic. I just thought this was fantastic. This was what sold me on the new era of the band. You know, of course, I'm a huge David Lungden fan. Love their previous era. Love their classics. But to me, this stands right up with, you know, all of the great classics of the band. East Coast Racer, Brooklands, you know, all of that stuff. I think this measures up. It's beautifully done. Alberto Bravin is a triumph in performing this song with full heart and emotion. It has so many great sections. It has a proggy section that really showcases the band's chops and abilities, but it never loses its heart. And that's what Big Big Train is for me. It's just a band full of heart. And you can feel it on this track, and the emotion comes to the forefront expertly well. And this is like the centerpiece to me of the record, which is one of my favorites of the year. Just fantastic. But number 1, no surprise to anyone, is going to be No Hill for a Climber, the title track from Neil Morse's latest album. Just to hear him back in this like epic prog mode was just a delight. And I just can't stop smiling from how amazing this epic is. It evokes the best of like Transatlantic and Spock's Beard and Neil Morse band proper. There's some really unique, interesting sections. There's some darker kind of Eastern style vibes in the soundscapes. They're doing something a bit different. They keep ramping up to these epic heights that's just fun to listen to. They have those proggy bits. Think of like the beginnings of Sola Scriptura and stuff like that. A little bit of a darker tinge, but still playful and fun in Neil Morse's standard way. He's a fantastic writer. And he brings in new members of the band that bring new different sounds that kind of add a different variety as well to the mix. I love the whole Burn It Down section, is one of my favorite moments of the whole record. And it's fun and meaningful, has this kind of epic feel and quality, and reaches up to angelic heights like only Neil Morse knows how to do. So had to put that as my favorite epic. And of course, the other epic on that album, Eternity in Your Eyes, would also be in my top list, but I only wanted to include like one per artist on this list. I didn't want it to be a double shot of Neil at the top here, but Eternity in Your Eyes deserves special mention because that also is fantastic and just classic Neil Morse, and opens the album in epic, incredible fashion. So those are my favorite epics of the year. Let me know in the comments, like I said, if you have any that you want to contribute that I didn't mention here. There's definitely more. I have a list of like 30 or so that I could have mentioned here, but those were the ones that really stood out to me this year. So thank you guys for joining me. Hopefully you'll stick around for future content. I'm going to be doing an honorable mentions list of all the albums that didn't quite make my final cut, but I think are well worth recommending from this year. And then I'm going to be doing my big old end of year album tournament that I think is going to be a lot of fun to put together, my top 16 albums and battling it out to see what my top album is. I don't even know myself yet. I'm still working through that process, but it's going to be a lot of fun to showcase to you guys. And I'm going to be hopefully doing a roundup show of all the albums I haven't talked about or reviewed yet on the channel, especially focused on the final quarter of the year, these last couple months, and what's been coming out that has grabbed my ear and attention, but I just haven't had the time to fully review it on the channel. So a lot to look forward to, a lot for me to work on and prepare, but hopefully these were some fun videos to kind of get you through the week before I get into those bigger episodes coming forward. So thank you guys so much, and I'll catch you guys in a future episode. Enjoy the music, everybody.